of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. We're digital now, 100%. We still have print on demand, but I'm breaking out some archives. Issue 2, 2021. The Calvera Skin Therapy, the co-founders, and thanks for being on the cover. And let's see how big this one This issue was 164 pages. Woohoo! It's a wedding catalog,
So
man. I'm telling you, see these things in person, they looked beautiful. I could lay this magazine down on a table with 10 other magazines, and I guarantee mine's getting picked up in first, if not second. Mostly first. But it looked so great. But things happen. And the last issue I printed was August of 2021. That was the last issue I had. The biggest facility White Castle Restaurants had ever built on there. And I haven't looked back since. It's been an amazing ride making face-to-face print to digital and content creator, prompt programmer, and all that stuff. But I always like holding in the mat. I always like seeing, let's see what I was doing. Okay. This is the only place I ride in the back of the bus. This is the only place I put myself. This is 1980. I was probably talking about, the Olympics beating the Russians in 1980 on the frozen pond up in upstate New York. And my prep school, actually, we went up with Princeton Day School. We went up a couple weeks before the Olympics started and played on the Olympic rink that year. Priceless. We got our tails kicked by Lake Placid High School on Friday night, and then we played this place called the Northwood Schools, which was the top ice hockey prep school in the country, and they beat us too, but we hung with them. It was like 5-4. I mean, we should have gotten blown out by them, and but anyway, it was amazing playing there. But that's what that was for. Uh, but in any event, listen, beautiful day out there. Things are rock and rolling a lot. Can't complain. It's hump day, yeehaw. And you got tomorrow and TJF Friday and then the weekend. And one more week and you know what's happening. Q2 starts. April 1st is waiting for us. So I can't believe it's already the first quarter's over. So with that said, I've got a nice gentleman. Okay. His name is Kit Dickinson. He's out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. He's with ADP. If you don't know who ADP is, uh, listen, payroll, research, data. They got their hands in all sorts of stuff, and we're dealing with the construction side of things. Kit, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
good morning, good afternoon, listeners. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, hey, listen, it we just had wicked storms come in on Saturday night, and everybody was batting down the hatches. And it didn't. I think when the storms came across uh, uh, the border, it kind of lost its punch. But still a lot of lightning, rain, thunder. The dogs didn't like it, and but just beautiful out there right now. So I can't blame. So Kit, the way that listen, the reason why I had Kit on was because there's so much information out there. People don't know what's coming or going, and some companies are kind of just like, they're wearing concrete shoes and don't know what to do. And we're just gonna have a nice discussion about construction trends, labor, hiring, and listen, payroll checks, by all the companies, that tells you what's going on. So it should be, it's just good stuff to know. So Kit, with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Excellent. Well, first and foremost, David and listeners, thanks for having me today. Very excited to be here. So yes, Kit Dickinson, born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Actually went to school at the University of Michigan, very proud Wolverine.
Go Big Blue.
No Big Blue. So very excited to see what they're doing in the NCAA tournament coming up and all other exploits that they have. But yeah, so I went to Michigan after graduating in '92. I had a chance to join Accenture, or what is now known as Accenture. So did the big consulting game for about 6 years and got to work with all sorts of different industries and governments and so on, and got a lot of phenomenal experience. Got married, had our first child, and at that point, it was time to hang up all those frequent flyer miles that I accumulated in the consulting world, traveling Monday to Friday. And so found a company called Integrated Design, or IDI. And IDI was in the HR payroll space, and really helped provide connectivity between like Kronos timekeeping systems and hundreds of payrolls, including ADP. And that was their niche. And it was a good business, smaller firm. And I was brought on board to really help build out the consulting practice as IDI was starting to work with companies like Nike and Dell Computer and Carhartts that had more complex integration needs. So things were humming along, and then 2001 hit, and the main partnership that we had at the time dissolved. There was a difference of opinion, and all of a sudden we went from 100 employees down to 10. We lost 95% of our revenue. And the owners at the time basically came to myself and one other and said, we'd like you to try and restart this engine. And so I was elevated to president of the company at the time. I, at that point, had a 2-year-old, a newborn, a new house, and didn't know if we were going to keep the lights on. So at that point, my partner and I said that we're going to do 2 things. One, we're going to diversify our products and go beyond what we have today. And that means really starting to focus on industry type bundles that the market's looking for. And then secondly, we need to diversify our partnerships. We can't go all in on one single company like we did in the past. So taking those that mantra, we really started rebuilding the company from scratch. And happy to say it was a great ride. Even in the downturn of 2007 to 2009, we were actually on the Inc. 5000 Fast 5000 list. So very proud of that. And then come to 2014, which really brings us here today, that's when we got introduced to construction and saw that there was a real gap between what the market wanted and what the vendors at the time could provide, specifically around payroll. And you all the listeners know, construction payroll is probably one of the most complex payroll to execute successfully. And many were doing it either on paper, Excel, using maybe legacy technologies, what have you. And so we saw that opportunity at IDI and built out an application called Contractor Central. And Contractor Central, as the name implies, is really built for those contractors that do government work, that Davis-Bacon, prevailing wage, certified payroll, as well as work with unions. And so, we took that and started to talk to different contractors, talk to our partners, started getting on the other side of the fence with the ERP systems like Sage, became a partner with them. And really seeing that there's a niche for this and a real need to get payroll right. And the ADPs and the Paychecks and the Paylocities of the world, just as a generalist platform, couldn't meet those needs. So we took Contractor Central and started getting great reviews, receptivity. And then kind of fast forward, taking that success, we started getting interest from private equity firms and other firms in the industry of saying, hey, we want what you have. And it made all the sense in the world. We started having discussions with our longest partner, ADP, who we had thousands of clients with. We said, hey, we're good as partners, but we could be great if you took our technology and incorporated into ADP. So 2001, we were acquired by ADP, which coincidentally, we closed our sale around the same time as the Infrastructure Act being signed. So there was definitely some, serendipity there. And for the last 3 years, have really been building out a unique strategy for ADP, taking technology-wise, taking the ability to do prevailing wage, union, certified payroll reporting, job cost integration, all those really core things, and build them into what ADP launched as Workforce Now for construction. So really the first of the attempt for one of the generalist providers to have this specialized offering. But we didn't stop there. We also helped build out a construction center of excellence where we implement all of our clients through this centralized group, trained in construction concepts, supporting our clients through a unique experience, and then also partnerships. And that's really what I've been focused on as of late, which is working with the vendors, those ERP vendors, the project management, the Procores and others of the world, but also different trusted advisors, CPA firms and such. VARs. And so really we've taken this kind of 3-pillar strategy, and since 2021 to where we are here in 25, we've made quantum leaps. The market is really reacting well to this offering. And for me personally, it's been a great ride to see, what we started back in 2014, how it's grown, and now with the resources that we have at ADP, how it's really scaling. So it's been a fun ride, and in many ways, feel we're only getting started.
Hey, I can get, listen, I went, Nielsen bought our firm back in 99, and I just started this construction magazine. It was called Retail Operations Construction. It was a big, ugly tabloid, but it was tied to a show. Anyway, that honeymoon lasted about 18 months. And right after 9/11, they whacked about, I don't know how many magazines out of the portfolio. Anyway, I offered to buy the magazine, and they thought I was bluffing. I said, I'm going on the road when I come back. Make your decision. I went on the road. I came back. I go, you gonna sell me the magazine? They said no. I said, here's my resignation. And everybody told me, don't do it. You have an expense account. I was publishing another magazine. I could have retired there. I'm like, nope. I went out, and 2 months later, I put my first issue out. And then the rest is, but I went through the crash, '07, '10, whichever way you want to look at it, and then all the other stuff, and then, this thing over the last 5 years, and I'm still standing. I still have
Yeah, good for
fun.
you.
Yeah. And listen, I see it in your face. You're smiling. It's like, hey, that's what makes real captains or rough seas. I hate to say it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Life is not a straight line, and and so we learn that quickly in the business world and the personal world, everything. So you just have to react and take advantage of opportunities when they come available and enjoy it while you're doing it.
talk about from like March 2020 till today, because March 2020, everything went kaput, got hit by a 2x4 with rusty nails. Thought it was going to take a couple weeks and a couple months. Here we are, we're out of the tunnel, still kind of, dealing with whatever, potholes, speed bumps, call them what you want. And talk about how you weathered that, because that would be the craziest thing with payroll. Because with people, if they're working out of their house, you don't, or on the job site, everything's got. Talk about how you guys weathered that. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone had challenges, to say the least. And from a professional perspective, one of the things that really helped us, and our part and many of our partners, I should say, is we had cloud-based technologies. So we weren't reliant on someone having to go into the office and run a process or print, checks in their office and so on. We were able to take advantage of having more hosted so we could be remote. We also quickly embraced Zoom and the other, remote access for staying in contact. And that was a big part of it, was just staying connected with your team, with your clients, with your partners in a way that we never thought we'd have to. And so virtual. But at the same time, the silver lining for us is it really allowed us to start identifying and getting talented individuals that aren't in Ann Arbor, Michigan only. We have a phenomenal talent here, but it allowed us to really open the borders, within the U.S. and find great people because we were all virtual at the time. So there were a lot of things that obviously were extremely challenging and catastrophic, but we were able to weather it by having a backbone of technology that was in the cloud, having people that were used to working with remote applications, and then construction didn't stop. And so we were able to, the contracts still started coming in, and then this was predating by a few months what ultimately became the Infrastructure Act, which really devoted $1.4 trillion to the industry to help build or rebuild and improve our crumbling infrastructure. So
Did you see besides the act, did you see more people over that, 2000, 2020 to say 2023, even to today, that went more with the technology route, trying to get more on the cutting edge thing you had, since 14? You know where I'm coming from?
yeah,
Because a lot
exactly.
of
No, you're
people
right.
looked at their businesses and they're like, hey man, if I could do this and spend my time where like closing deals versus doing input, that's what we should do, because
Yeah,
everybody had to pivot or change or, whatever synonym, adjective, noun, pronoun, verb, whatever we wanted to do, everybody kind of had to do take some action in one way or another. So I was just
yeah.
curious if, because I know that if you were essential, you were going to cruise right along. Some of those projects didn't stop, but I was just curious because a lot of people found out, a lot about their companies over that, the last 5 years, what worked, what didn't, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. But if you can improve it, that and be able to take some stuff off your plate and let technology do it, I mean, there's still contractors out there using slide rules,
Oh
but
yeah.
they're great. Like my septic guy that put in my tank, he don't have a website. He don't have everything. He's 83 years old. Lamar, yeah, who's doing your septic? You know, so, but he does it right, knows all the county guys. Boom. Okay. So I was just curious on because so many people found out a lot of stuff, and I would think that, if you have a decent size firm and being an accountant and a payroll and entrepreneur, I look at my books. God, you just want to get it done and let the boom, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. No, I think COVID was a real wake up call for everyone globally, and but in the context of technology, it was that opportunity to take a look at your business, take stock of what you have, realize what isn't working, and specific to the payroll HR side, as you alluded to, how can we make that more automated? That we can't rely on this one person who knows all of our pay policies. It's all in their head. They're on the verge of retirement. They could get sick. They could be, who knows? I mean, COVID opened up a lot of eyes in that regard. And so it forced a lot of organizations to say, hey, we have to take advantage of the technology. It has to be cloud based. We can't rely on a single location to have a dot make printer, that's running things. But then we also have to be strategic. It's like, how are we going to grow that company? So the single septic guy is one thing, but the company that's 100 that wants to become 500, that wants to become 100, 500 million, has to think of how can I scale better? And technology is a great way to do that. Whether it's payroll HR, whether it's your estimating, what the process, et cetera, the whole life cycle of construction and in every industry.
Even though that septic guy, the owner, he's been putting in septics for 55 years, knows all the building officials, gets everything done. His daughter works with him. She's sharp. She knows everything, you know what I mean? She's young, she's got the social media going, whatever, I mean, he was just driving through my subdivision and he just rolled his window down. We were out clearing the lot, knocking down some trees. He's like, "Hey, who's doing your septic?" And I'm like, "Hey," but the people like you said, that have a team of workers and that you can dish that off. I always look at it like a Benjamin T sheet. You put your pros and your cons on anything you want to do. And also, you also want it to pay for itself. So, I found out very often that when I started, I did everything myself. But eventually I had 14 employees. I wasn't going to do accounting for all that. I would be in my office all day, not doing what I really did to build the company up. So those are the things like if you're an entrepreneur out there or you're a big contractor, it doesn't matter what you are, as far as I'm concerned. If you've got a team of people, when your toilet's clogged, you don't hire an electrician, okay? You get a plumber, all right? So if you're not, accounting, you got to keep Uncle Sam happy. And if your time is spent, but the revenue that you're losing where you could spend it where you really need to be, that's what you have to analyze. And if you're in that boat, you should look at this because technology is at warp speed. Stuff that you'll see today in 6 months it could be outdated just the way that AI is getting integrated and so forth. In 5 years they're going to recognize how things are done, but they're going to be so streamlined that you'll be able to find, hey, what's my P&L, how much cash flow. I mean, I do that as an entrepreneur anyway. My favorite place, well, I used to do my PO box. I get everything, I don't get that much mail now, but my favorite place was go to the post office box. I didn't care if I had a penny in there. It was great. It was still cash flow, and as an entrepreneur. So you want to be sending an invoice out and you want to be collecting money. And then you want to make sure because you as the owner, you go down with the ship. You're the last one off, the Titanic or whatever, a little dinghy boat, whatever it might be, but you're still afloat. So, uh,
Yeah,
but
you touched on something using the example of the septic and has the next generation, is much more tech savvy, and we're seeing a lot of that transition happen where whether it's a family business, whether it's new leadership coming in, and again taking a look at are they optimizing not only how they are executing, payroll and time and capturing time and so on, but also a big thing that we're seeing with the labor shortages, these owners really have to think, am I, engaging my employees? Am I giving them the skills needed to succeed? Am I, really taking a keen eye towards the employee experience? Because, there's hundreds of thousands of workers needed just for the Infrastructure Act that we've been talking about a little bit. And then in 2030, I've heard over 2 million workers are going to exit because they're going to retire, whether it's that septic guy or 1.99 other million people. They're going. So how do you make sure that as you're looking around, to that next wave, do you have the right people? Are they engaged? Are they trained in the right way? And we're seeing a lot of that really start to become prevalent and important to the success of the construction next generation.
So as you look, like we're almost done with Q1. Next week, boom, April 1st, we're in
Yeah.
Q2 and the remainder of the year. I think optimism, we have, the country's kind of got a new attitude. It's the second quarter or second half of the game. I'm ready to play now. I just needed a wake-up call. But in general, as you look down through the remainder of the year, do you see any trends happening, or I mean, everybody's pretty optimistic. So I'm just curious because payroll, it's like shipping. Hey, ask the cardboard guys. Those guys are selling cardboard. They're going to tell you what's going on with the economy. I just look at simple stuff. I get so much stuff thrown at me a day. Just like, this press release that you got on here. I was looking at because I like looking at numbers and then analyzing and say, okay, that looks legit, or that looks like I'm going down a rabbit hole. That doesn't look right. But uh, do you see any trends?
Yeah, absolutely. No, so there's a few that we'll touch on, and we'll give you some numbers since you're
Mhm.
the numbers guy. So when it comes to, at a macro level, yes, there is optimism in the construction industry, as there should be, and it's really buoyed by the amount of government dollars that are still on the street. So, Infrastructure Act signed in 21, $1.4 trillion. As of turning the page into this year, only half of those dollars have been spent. So you've got about $700 billion worth of projects that have yet to be put on the street. That's fueling a lot of optimism. The other thing, to somewhat temper that optimism is that labor shortage that we talked about. How are we going to get the workers to get the work done? And we actually just at ADP just completed a survey of over 38,000 workers across different industries and found that about 24% of them don't feel that they have the right skills to do the job that they're being asked to do. And then further, only 17% of those, strongly agreed that their employer, their company, is investing in their career development, and that's really concerning. And that's a trend that has to be addressed because in this tight labor market, you have to be an employer choice. You have to keep those employees engaged. You have to keep them trained. You have to give them a path forward. Otherwise, they have to leave because the company down the street, the company the next town over, is willing to pay them. So, we're finding a lot of in the data as we're hearing and talking to and getting surveys from thousands and thousands of workers out there that, again, a lot of opportunity at a macro level, but as you peel back the onion, we really need to be conscious of making sure these workers are engaged, because if they are and they feel they're getting skills development, they're 3 times more likely to stay with that company. And that's huge. That's something that we're seeing, kind of the counterbalance of excitement and some concerns of those challenges as it relates to the employees.
Hey, if you're not buying your teams, whether out on the construction site or in the office, if you're not having that interaction, hey, it's Friday pizza day or whatever it might be, that stuff just goes a long way, man.
Yeah,
The other day we brought up pizzas for the trim guys and the painters, and they freaking loved it. And my wife does it all the time. She treats her subs like gold because she knows they're getting pulled by everybody else that wants them, and we pay them. They do good work, and I don't nickel and dime them. I just want stuff done on time. She's more of the good cop, bad cop out there. Chop chop. Myself is like, hey, you know, did you get the job done? Okay, here's your check. Next
yeah,
time, but uh, it it really is. It's so competitive out there, and but data. Like I said, I just massage the numbers, but I just look at certain indicators to kind of tell. But all everybody I talk to, they all tell me over the last 3 to 5 years. They could have done more work if they had more superintendents or project managers. And my son, he did the skill thing. He went to aviation mechanics school. He did a 2 year
mhm,
program, and then he was at Boeing for 3 years, and now he's at FlexJet down at Love Field in Dallas. Working on $20 million Challengers. But He learned sheet metal welding, woodworking. He could work on any jet engine and a boiler and a hell, but in aviation, 600,000 techs are going to retire. That's how many
Yeah.
people they have to freaking replace. Boeing had like 10, 12,000 people they had to hire between the two plants, the big ones. And it's crazy. Like myself, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have anybody to give my company to, so I have to have an exit strategy. So, eventually, as long as I don't get arthritis or go blind, and I wear my readers when I need to. Hey, I'm going to be 62. I'm not ashamed of it. I can still go up and down the lacrosse field. I might not be as fast, but I can still rip the ball. I can play in the net. I can chirp. I can shake hands after the game. You know, but as long as I don't get out of that, I can hang here and do it because I still have fun. I like what I do. But uh, yeah, we went through the skilled thing, and uh, we put a student newsletter in the magazine. So we figured like if you want to recruit someone or plant the seed into the next generation of workers, you have to do it between fifth and eighth grade. You got to plant that seed because once they get into high school and I'm not going to use the word indoctrinate. Okay, I'm just going to say once you get into high school and they're thinking 4-year college and Florida State's got the commons with the pool and all this stuff, and where if you went the trade school route or you found a plumber that didn't have anybody to give his company to and you become the apprentice and take that company over, you could be a millionaire. Everybody needs water. I told my son, be a plumber. Everybody needs water. They cook with it, they clean with it, they showers with it. It's a great thing. No, 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 this and that. And then finally ended up in aviation. But
Yeah,
I,
I mean, you bring up a lot of things about that next generation, and I'm a parent too, and they followed a more traditional route. But as I've got a younger son, I'm definitely advocating for take a look at the trades. The Gen Z workers, are looking at, to your point, the income that can be made, the benefits that can be provided, the career advancement, all the things that you used to associate with a 4-year college degree, stability, advancement, high pay. Those are happening in the trades. And you're coming out, through your apprenticeship and what have you, without 4 years of debt. So there's a lot of transition going on in this Gen Z generation where it's being labeled the tool belt generation for that reason. And it's great to see some of the stigma being destroyed, removed as far as, oh, you have to go to college versus going into the trades, but it's also necessary because of so many people that are leaving and those skills that are needed. And these kids are bringing in just amazing technology skills. I mean, the job site today, if you've been out there, you see drones, you see artificial intelligence being used, you see 3D image cameras, high def 3D image printers, and high def cameras. All these things are commonplace, and this younger generation, they've grown up with this, so they're a leg up and doing quite well. Those that are pursuing that path. So,
yeah,
that's going to be, I think, the secret sauce to that next generation.
Hey, he was flipping motorcycles, working on cars. He was always working with his hands. He hated English. He hated history. He had to be at high school at 7 in the morning. We got him into the military academy. He didn't want to live, and I was like, I lived away for 4 years, man. You're just living across the lake, 30 minutes. You can play lacrosse. You're gonna be in the hotel company. Just go for it. You're gonna learn how to march. Gonna be on the rifle team. Learn how to belay. All that stuff. He didn't want to do it. So we went and met with the freaking counselor and like the principal and whatever. They had a shop class, but he didn't have the math skills or the test scores. So we met with him and I said, "Look, dude, you got 3,500 people in this high school. He's a good lacrosse player, but he's, not a starter, but he can hold his own. But if there's one person you want to put in that shop class, it's him. Okay?" And they were like, "No, no, he's not." You know what I did? We yanked him out of the senior, we homeschooled him. He went to school online to get his diploma, but we made him work. He worked in the local garage. He waited tables, and then he was kind of looking. He wanted to be an auto mechanic, then a motorcycle, and then we took the tour of the aviation school. And I was like, "This is your ticket right here, man. Six hundred
Yeah.
thousand people are going to retire. They're all going to have to get filled." He gets a job offer probably once a week from a recruiter reaching out to him on LinkedIn. It's crazy, and I just say,
Yeah.
look, just put them all in a file because if you ever make it. you always want to be going up. You don't want to be doing the lateral or down. You always want to be going up. And
Mhm.
that's awesome to hear because I try to plant my seed, one a week if I could do it. Just hey, if your son hasn't doing, they should have a career day or tell the teacher she have a career day, and
Well,
I'm all.
there's so many associations out there that are helping recruit the next generation of workers. Also, female workers. That again, that is something that we're seeing an uptick. It's not where it needs to be. I think it is last about 14% of the workforce. But as we're seeing different women in construction is a phenomenal association, different ways to get different people into the workforce. Again, before it was nice to have, now it's need to have because of all the jobs and all the work that's out there. But those are the types of things, thinking differently, being more open to how we're going to meet the demands, whether it's technology, whether it's skills development, whether it's diversification at the job site. All of that is so important, and vital to make the next road, successful and so on.
We put a women construction section in the magazine years ago, but the guy who's doing my trim, his name is Benny, and he has two daughters. They're twins. You should see these girls. They're like, 18, 19 years old. They've been putting in trim forever. I mean, they're freaking artists. You should see them.
Yeah,
And it is so cool. And they're making good money. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I know what I know what the invoice was, and but they're in there, they're carrying their stuff, and he's just doing his thing, and but he brought them on the site all those years, and it all rubbed off, and now they can carry the torch, and then probably, you know, and fluent in English, and it's just really really cool to see the women out there. So. Uh, if if anybody was out there in commercial construction coffee talk land and they wanted to reach out and say, "Hey, I don't even know, we've been doing payroll the old way. How do we do this? How would someone reach out to either you or the, your team to,
sure.
ask some questions?"
Yeah, so out on ADP.com, there's at the top banner, what am I looking for? Type in construction, and you're going to get an amazing amount of information at your fingertips as far as what's different, how we do, not only the payroll aspect, but your implementation experience, your support experience, the partnerships we have. All that is out on ADP.com. We also, had mentioned earlier, we've got some amazing research. So for the listeners that aren't aware, ADP pays 1 in 6 Americans. So over close, 40 million people we have in our database. So we can really slice and dice this information. We have a phenomenal team of research and data scientists that out on adpresearch.com, you can see the different trends that are happening. What do I need to pay different workers in construction, which spoiler alert is higher than many industries because of the demand. But the other thing that we can start to get into, if this person's interested as they're pursuing work, we have some amazing compensation benchmarking that's at our clients' fingertips. So they want to know, what do I have to pay this welder in Des Moines versus DeKalb, Georgia? So all of those different tools, because data is our middle name, automatic data processing, we have tons of that information. So ADP.com, just type in construction, ADPresearch.com is another great way to get a lot of information that we have and if accumulated specific to the industry.
There you go. So listen, any payroll or you're thinking about, putting it on the cloud, adp.com. That is in the name. He just said it. So uh hey, listen, if the way they got on here by sending me a press release, all right? And I know the PR contact and we had a and here Kid is on here. So listen, if anyone wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Just like the press release said, send it to me. It's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. You don't send me something, I can't look at it. And it's tough to get in the magazine, but we got all these other platforms. We post content all day. We're addicted to it. We like looking at all that stuff. So send it to us. If we, post it, we say in the URL, it's indexed, it's, Google, meta tagged, all that stuff. And Google can find you and then you can find the article on the site. So, uh, listen, uh, as we finish up here, if there was one positive thought or phrase, Kit, that you'd like to leave our listeners with, what would it be as we finish up Q1 and go into Q2, 3, and 4 for the remainder of the year?
Yeah, I would say, kind of as I mentioned earlier, take stock of your technology. Take a look at how you're doing things. Are you feeling you're compliant? Are you feeling prepared to pursue government work? Have you looked at, partnering with unions? If any of those, if you answer yes to any of those, you really need to take a hard look at your human capital management, your payroll HR technology, because significant advancements have been made in helping you stay compliant so you can focus on the real work out in the field and automate the back office.
Hey, it's all about data. Data is addicting, and it's probably just sitting there right in front of you. You just don't see it. You just kind of have to look at it. And you look at it and go, wow, does that sound right to you? So listen, reach out. So with that, let me turn this off here real quick. So, three things. Number one, if you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. Get home, be able to have dinner with your kids, your spouse, husband, wife, pets, whatever. Have some REM sleep. Get up and do it the next day. Number two, we want you to stay hydrated. You got to drink water on the site. Put the electrolytes in there. That's the athlete in me. And you stay hydrated. You're going to have a much better day. You're going to sleep better that night. You get dehydrated, you get headaches, you make mistakes. We don't want you doing that stuff. You don't need to be dropping passes on the on the construction site. Last but not least, hit the like button. We want to make sure that YouTube will send out the algorithm so we can hear Kit's story on on data and all that payroll stuff. So with that, Kit, any final thoughts from
No, this
Michigan
has been
before you
great.
sign off? Except go
No,
Big Blue and the
Big
NCAA ice
Blue,
hockey tournament, and I think Sparty's in there too. And
they are.
they're going to play the Pios. We play. Who do we play? We play Arizona State Friday night in the semis in the NCHC, and then they'll have the final on Sunday, and then the tourney starts. So it's yeah. Hey, look, the Big Ten, man, very competitive. Green against blue, right?
Yeah, yes, that's a deep-seated rivalry to say the least. So, no, I really appreciate it, David, and for listeners who took the time to hear our story again, love to hear how we might be able to help you and make your operations much more efficient. So, thanks so much, David. Thanks so much, listeners, and have a great rest of the spring and start to Q2.
Absolutely. So pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Everybody out there, hey, listen, have a great rest of the week and finish March out strong with the momentum and get ready, man. Q2's waiting for you. April 1st, it's coming for you. So we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Kid, I'm going to look you up when I get up there in Ann Arbor, all right? All right.
Please
Cheers,
do.
everybody. Have a great rest of the week.